really the Arnold Strongman Classic is it's a different contest in the fact that it's actually we use heavier weights here. So really the promoters, their goal is they don't really want a lot of reps. They want to see a maximum weight. And I've talked with Dr. Todd, who's the event organizer, and in his opinion, maximum strength. So if you test a 1 rep max versus say a 3 rep or 5 rep max, the truer test of strength is a 1 rep max. So in his opinion would be that if every event was done for maximum, where we went to a 1 rep max, that would be the truest way to test overall body strength. Well, obviously that's not possible in a 5-event strongman contest. So obviously we have a couple events that are done for maximum, and then the other events are just extremely heavy, where it's almost impossible to get 5 reps done with the weight that they choose. So they don't want anything approaching 10 reps, because then you kind of get into a little bit of more muscular endurance. The goal would be for a third of the guys to struggle or get 0, and then a third of the guys to do okay and get maybe 1 or 2 reps or something, and then a third of the guys are going to excel at it. So you're gonna really find out, like by picking the heavier weights, you're really gonna find out who the strongest really is. The other thing is you're limited by the stage. So you have to have an event that fits the stage, that can be done in a very short distance if it's a carry, or something where we're standing in one spot. So it's interesting to me thinking about all the different events and how everybody deals with them and who excels at what. And trying to be really strong at everything is a huge challenge. Typically, the overhead press has been my toughest event, like through my strongman career. So the log press or axle press, or any overhead press has been difficult for me. And I mean, I think it has a lot to do with my height because of the distance that I have to press. But at the same time, everybody has to work with the body they were given. So it's just been one of the things that I've had to work harder at to get better at, whereas some of the other events came more naturally to me. So this weekend, when I was looking at the contest as a whole, I knew that the log press, the Austrian oak, would be the most difficult thing for me to do out of all the events, just because that one it's just been that thing that I've had to work really hard to get good at. And coming into the contest, that was true, and I ended up actually tied for second on that event. It's close to, and it was a 3-way tie, so you split points, which drops you down a little bit. But if I could have I was hoping to get 2 or 3, which I ended up getting 2, which was a good performance. That's what I hit in training. So it's I was happy with the performance on that, but that was my toughest. I think across the board, that was probably my toughest event coming into the contest. I think a lot of things went as planned. There's a couple things I was a little disappointed with myself. I feel like I underperformed on the timber carry. That's typically has been a very good event for me, and normally I move really good with that. And I got close to the end, and the top layer of skin just kind of came off my hand. So that was, I don't know how, maybe I could have tweaked that a little bit. Maybe I could have shaved my calluses down just a little bit before the event, and that maybe take that top layer of skin off, and that sometimes can really help. But it's a fine line with the grip, because if you take too much skin off your hand with with kind of filing it down, that can make your grip a little bit worse. So I was kind of fighting with that. So it's a fine line, and I was a couple feet away from the finish on that one. The handles on that are actually pretty long, so it's very easy to get the balance wrong. So if you go cheat forward just slightly, that'll make the front end come up a little bit. And a lot of it also depends on the height of the competitor too, because for me, I think I could probably go a little bit back, and I'm taller, so I have to lift it further anyway. So I would probably be all right as I got into the ramp and not have a chance of hitting it. But if you kind of go forward about an inch off of the center, that kind of keeps the front just slightly up. And so that's kind of what I did. I felt like the balance was fine. It was more that the top layer of skin just kind of came off my hand at the end there, and So that was a little disappointing because I feel like that was an event I probably should have won, and I got third on that. Our rivalry really probably started in 2010. So at World's Strongest Man in 2010, we actually tied exactly on points. With a contest as big as World's Strongest Man and at that level, they didn't have a tiebreaker in place. To settle that, they actually did a placement count back. If there's a couple different ways you could count it back. So if you counted it back head to head, him and I, we had 6 different events in that competition. So I won just head to head with him. I won the loading race, which is the first event. I won the keg toss, second event. He won the log press, which is the third event, and then he won the frame carry, which was the fourth event. And then we tied exactly on deadlift, and then I won stones. So technically, I beat him in 3 events. He beat me in 2 events, and we tied in 1. So if you count it that way, I win. So the way that they actually decided the contest was overall with every competitor. Let's see, I had a first place in the log. I had a first place in keg toss. I had a first place in stones. He had a first place in frame carry. So we both had 2 first places. And then we tied for first place in the deadlift. So that was that. And then he had a second place in keg toss, and I had a third place in loading. So that's how that got decided. That's as close as it was. And then, so they counted his second place. I didn't have a second place, I had a third place. And that's how they decided the title, instead of doing a strength-related tiebreaker like they should have. And that's something I'm never going to forget. That's where the rivalry really started. So coming off 2010, then we came to the Arnold in 2011, and I beat him here at the Arnold in 2011, and then in World's Strongest Man in 2011, I beat him too. So I was, even with all of his victories, he's never won the Arnold and World's Strongest Man in the same year. Okay. So I was the first one to accomplish that, and I think from there it kind of established, like, coming into 2012, then he won World's Strongest Man. In 2013, I won World's Strongest Man. So it's gone back and forth. And I think, if you talk about eras of strongman, there's been some really great rivalries of very strong men. What I'll say is I have respect for Zydrunas as a competitor and as a strength athlete. Outside of that, I can't say that I really like him, and that stems from a lot of other things too. But, over the years, I've learned a lot of things, and I don't, but you don't have to like everybody, and he doesn't have to like me. I don't have to like him, and sometimes, honestly, that makes for the best rivalries. It really does. And so there's no, there's no love lost, really. It's just one of those things where I like nothing more than beating him, nothing more, and that's just the way it is, and that's the way it's going to be. He's had a great career, and you can't take that away from him at all. And that's one thing I never will do is he's been around, he's a legend, he really is, but in that regard, so am I too, So it's just one of those things where, like I said, I'm getting a lot better. And if you go back to when he was my age, what he was doing, it wasn't even close to what I'm doing now. I probably started believing after I earned my pro card, which in the States there's several, 2 or 3, 4 contests a year where you can earn a pro card in strongman, and then it allows you to compete as a professional, and then kind of work your way up from there. So I think when I earned my pro card, I earned it about 6 months after starting, and my training was very limited at that point, So I knew that I had a chance to do some really good things, but I think probably that was in like 2006. I competed internationally in 2007, and I kind of started to discover a little bit more that where I could go possibly, and so I kind of had that vision because whenever I start anything, I want to be the best, and that's just kind of the way my head works. I go all in. I mean, I really do. I study it. I break down everything I possibly can to be the best. From there, I've always tried to improve, and I have always improved. And so it worked really well because my background is in strength and conditioning, and that's what I was doing after college, and learned from some of the best in the business with that. And they helped me a lot on how to train correctly, and they set me up. They really set me up well for where I'm at now, because I learned how to lift better, you know. And a lot of times you have to get around more experienced guys to learn that. And so I think for me, I just really excelled from there. And 2008 was my first World's Strongest Man. Once I got to that stage, it was like, you know what, I can do this and I can win. And I have all the tools necessary to get it done. It's just a matter of time, kind of thing. And you just have to go back and work harder and work harder. And the next year I came back, I was on the podium, finished third my second year at World's Strongest Man. And so I've only gone up, from there. And I'm still getting better. I mean, it really is. I'm still, what's fun about this is I'm still, every contest I come to, even this contest, I learn about how to maybe prepare just a little bit better, how to tweak the training, how to, what I could have done a little bit differently to perform better. And it's a fine line. At this point, it used to be when I started, it was drastic things I could improve. And now it's a fine line of what I can get better on. One of the MHP supplements that really helps me with my training and recovery is Up Your Mass. I use Up Your Mass. I drink 2 to 3 shakes every single day of my life. And I do it, in the morning and then post-training and before bed normally. Up Your Mass provides you with, obviously enough calories so that I can supplement my normal meals with that, so I can get all the calories that I need to recover from training and to, keep the size that I need for strongman. Just the high quality protein and carbohydrate in that, it helps me to perform better and to recover from all the heavy training that I do. So at my gym, I always keep several containers of dark matter there, because every single workout, like the first thing that I do is I go over and get my shaker and mix up my dark matter shake. Well, number one, it tastes awesome. It's like some kind of awesome slushy is what it kind of tastes like. Immediately post workout, when you're so spent and you've worked so hard in the gym, it just gets into your body so quickly, and you can just feel you feel better almost instantly. When you feel like you're recovering. By far the best post workout that I've ever used in my life. The best way sometimes to get through that is to train like you're going to compete. So it's maybe breaking up my training. So I do kind of a few times I'll do split sessions, possibly, where I'll come back and re-warm up after being gone for, say, 4 or 5 hours, re-warm up again, and then train that event. So that I have to kind of have that feeling of being a little bit tight, a little bit sore. But the problem is with training is when you do that, like, you're kind of, there's a fine line you have to walk, because you don't want to open yourself up to injury. And getting injured in training would be one of the worst things possible, and you never want to do that. So I'm going to have to play with that idea a little bit, because it's one of those things where in training I might use a little bit lighter weight, for example, or something, so I can at least get the feel of it, but not maybe push myself to the limit in that scenario. Probably one of the things that for the general public, like, I think it's sometimes a little bit difficult to understand, like, how heavy the weights we lift actually are. And World's Strongest Man in those contests, like, they and the Arnold too, like, they try to use implements that really show mass and weight, because if a lot of times people, the concept of, I mean, for example, like, a good reference would be the dumbbell. So, like, Terry Todd, during the contest, I remember he said something like, this dumbbell is equivalent to 275 pounds, which would be, on a normal lifting bar, Olympic bar, it would be 245s and a 25, which most people would, maybe work up to in bench press or something like that, maybe. And so it gives a good concept of, like, wow, Okay, you know that, and that's all compacted in this very dense, heavy dumbbell. Strong, you know, it's entertainment. I mean, it really is. Like, and it's entertaining for the crowd, and you see that with how many people get around the stage when we're competing. I mean, it's just people love they love strength. I mean, they really do, and displays of strength like this, or I mean, you got the 10 strongest men on the planet like here, and you're going head to head, and you know the aspect of that competition, it's just incredible. I mean, it really is, you know, and all of us work so hard to be here and to lift the weights that we do, you know, and it's I think for the general public, I mean, it's just one of those things. The other thing is like a lot of people, because when we're all standing together, you know, obviously they can tell we're big guys, but you know, it's like once you actually get off the stage and meet people in person and talk to them, I don't think they quite. Sometimes they don't quite understand, like especially like with World's Strongest Man on TV or whatever, because we're all big. Like it's kind of hard because you don't have like the normal people standing with us, where it's, you know, all these guys are big competing, but they don't, you know, they don't understand like how what big really is, you know, because most people know big guys, and it's kind of like most people think, say a guy that's 225 pounds is pretty big, you know, and that's like if there was a guy competing here that was 225 pounds, he would be tiny. For me, strongman has always been fun. I entered this because it seemed like a fun thing to do, and you know it. Because I excelled at it, I was able to turn it into my job, you know, and that's something very few people get to say. I mean, very few people get to do exactly what they love and get paid to do it, you know, and so there's honestly, I feel very fortunate to be able to do that, you know, because there's not a lot of people that get to do that, you know, and I've been able to follow something that I was passionate about and a dream, you know, and accomplish it. And so, you know, it's for me, it's tough in moments. It's tough in moments where you like this, where you work so hard and things, you know, are a little controversial about, you know, how things end, but it's still fun. It's still fun. Like at the end of the day, it's still fun. And you know, there, like I said, there's a lot of very positive things that I can take away from this competition and this weekend, and use that as fuel. And the other stuff that, you know, it's a little controversial. You know, you express. I'll just express what I feel, and then we'll move on. And that's what I always have. I mean, you can't dwell on. If I was to dwell on negative things, or anybody in general, I mean, it doesn't help you. It never helps you to get better. You know, and I mean, I think that probably one of the, like we mentioned earlier, you know, that World's Strongest Man in 2010. I mean, I just remember, and that was in South Africa. So I had a very long trip home, you know, and a lot of plane ride time to think about how I was going to deal with that. And, you know, if I was going to dwell on the negative of that, like, you know, that at that point in time, I would have been done. If I was going to only take the negative out of that competition and say, well, man, I got screwed over and I came so close. And I mean, if that was my mentality, then I wouldn't be where I am now. I wouldn't be the champion that I am, because you can't, if you let all those negative things drag you down, you're never gonna rise above it, you know. And I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't, you know, because I've always tried to take the positive out of everything, and then just try to come back better, you know. Let the negative go and just focus on the positive things, and then, you know, the things that I didn't do as well, then I'll just go back and get better at them and come back even better. Honestly, the great news for me as a competitor is that I'm only just starting to get better. Like, I have a lot of room to grow. I have a lot of room to excel, and you know, I've really improved in the last 2 to 3 years, and I'm only getting better, and the training can only improve, you know, for me. So there's a very big positive. But when you come into a contest like the Arnold, and you know, as prepared as I was, you know, to have it come down like it did, it's frustrating, and that's the only way you can say it, you know. But I only always bounce back. You know, I only bounce back and come back better. And I mean, that's exactly what I'm going to do now, because there's, you know, that's the only way you can go, really. You know, I mean, what are you going to, the thing is you have to put it behind you, and you have to move on and look to the next thing, and go back to the training and analyze it, and just, you know, figure out a way to tweak things a little bit better. So of course, you know, I've already been thinking about that. I've already got almost a game plan of how to train things a little bit better, tweak it, you know, and that's what I do. You know, in the end, I mean, it's one of those things where I've got a long, hopefully a really, really great long career in front of me, and I've got a lot of years to improve, and a lot of years to get better. And I mean, that's the way I look at it. You know, at the end of the day, you know, I'm very gifted at what I do, and I have a passion for it. And so as long as I still have that drive and hunger and passion for this, like there's no limit in my mind. There's no limit to what I'm going to be able to do. There's been a lot of talk about Atlas stones, and unfortunately they didn't have one at this competition. But for years people have talked about, is it possible to lift a 600-pound Atlas stone, you know, because we've had 535 or 540 pounds here at the Arnold. And, you know, that's been a big talk for a lot of years in strongman, whether somebody could load a 600-pound Atlas stone, you know. And so I have had one, you know, I've had one made that's bigger than that. And I really very badly want to have the first 600-pound stone here at the Arnold lifted, you know, cool. Because I'm physically capable of doing that, you know. And it's just one of those things where I just cannot wait to do that on that stage, but they need to bring the event back in order to do that.
Are you saying you've done it privately, or you don't want to say?
I have a 629-pound stone I had custom made for me, and I have lifted that off the ground into my lap. That's what I've done.
MHP has established itself as the protein innovator with revolutionary formulations such as Probolic SR, the world's first patented, sustained-released, muscle-feeding protein formula. Up your mass, an advanced super clean, size-building weight gainer packed with quality calories you need to pack on mass. IsoFast Whey Milkshake, ultra-fast absorbing whey protein isolate with the rich milkshake taste. And Power Pack Pudding, the ultimate high-protein snack. Go with MHP, the protein innovators.